Hi again, everybody. My name is Brad Silbert for Hamilton County Sports. Today is a special edition. We're going to call this IHSAA Baseball Championship Day for the Fishers Tigers. Our interview today is brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners and Noblesville Trophies. We are joined by Matthew Cherry, head coach of the Fishers Tigers, who just a couple weeks ago now managed to pull off the ultimate as far as the sport of baseball goes in the state of Indiana, and congratulations, Coach, on your state championship.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on.
I'd like to kind of go back a little bit with this, Coach, and just talk a little bit about you as an individual and in that, so our viewers can get to know you a little bit better. As a child, when did you first get baseball in your blood?
Honestly, don't remember. I remember having T-ball trophies when I was 4 and started watching Cubs games pretty much regularly in the summer. Played a lot of catch with my dad in the backyard, so it was kind of something I've always done.
As far as your coaching background, give us a little bit of a rundown on where you've been and what you've done.
When I first got injured in college and stopped playing, I ended up staying on as an assistant at Anderson University under Coach Brandon. I was there for 2 years and was a part of the staff when we went to the national championship, finished 3rd in 2003. From there I went to Pendleton as a volunteer coach under Coach Stout, another Hall of Fame coach, and then ended up for a year as a JV coach when Coach Harden was at Southeastern in 2006, I believe, and then have been here ever since.
Well, let's talk about this program. You came here as Fishers High School became a 4-year high school again after 40 plus years, and restarting and rebuilding the program. Let's just talk a little bit about that, about some of the pluses and minuses of doing that. I know you ran into some little bumps in the road here and there.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. We got to design our uniforms and kind of start everything from scratch and build the culture and the tradition that we wanted to have. But it was also difficult in trying to get that accomplished and working out some of the previous traditions that guys had coming in and not understanding our culture yet. But it took a little bit of time, but some of those early players were great. They bought in, they worked hard for us, they built the foundation. Got a lot of texts these last few weeks from former players and wanted them to know that the championship was just as much a part of them and how they helped build the culture here and build the winning tradition here.
What kind of roadblocks and snags did you run into? Obviously, the biggest one is your first season, you didn't have a field here on campus.
Yeah, we, Mr. Miles, our former athletic director, we walked the field and the grass just wasn't going to be ready, and there was a lot of bare spots, and we didn't feel like it was going to be playable, so we ended up playing our first season out at Trinity Ballpark and on 161st Street in Noblesville. So that was difficult. We had a bus every day out there. Took away from some of our practice times and getting ready to play, but in the end it worked out. The next year we were back here in 2008, I believe, was our first season here, and been playing here ever since.
Obviously, the state championship has got to be your proudest accomplishment in rebuilding this, but next to that, give me a couple of your highlights as far as your rebuilding process and what you look back on and brings a smile to your face.
Man, there's a lot of them. A few, really, honestly, is just seeing those players that maybe coming in weren't the elite top athletes, but worked for everything they got, and by the time they graduated, have been starting. And there's a couple that I can just think off the top of my head that fought for everything that they got in our program, and by their senior year started every game. And so just kind of seeing those success stories is something that I really take with us as a coaching staff. And then just along the way, 2017 finally winning the conference and the sectional for the first time, and be upsetting some teams along the way. I know in 2011, I believe, we knocked off Zionsville and had a chance to play for the sectional championship. And so just kind of those big wins along the way, but just seeing some of our players develop and grow as players and as people has probably been the most important to me.
I second that emotion because as an announcer, I've always thought it was neat to see kids come in as a freshman or sophomore and watch them develop into the players and the young athletes and the young people that they are. I still love to watch that every day. One of the more important parts of the program is your coaching staff. Let's talk a little bit about your coaching staff and some of the people you got helping you out.
Yeah, I wish they would get all the credit because they do a ton for us. It's awesome because they're some of my best friends, and and we've kind of become a family together. But Darren Sims has been with me from the very beginning. When we were traveling out to Trinity, I actually coached him in college when I was at Anderson, and then brought him here as our JV coach. And he's been on varsity staff for the last 8 seasons with us, but he's been here the whole time, and we kind of know each other's thinking and don't have to really communicate a whole lot because we've been around together for so long. And then Jeff Harkin came on, I believe in 2010 was his first season, so he's been with us for a long time. Been around the building. He's a football coach also, so he bleeds red and just does a tremendous job with our catchers and just overall teaching. He's a very good teacher of the game. And then we've added several guys along the way. Bryce Davis became our hitting coach. He played for me for 2 years before playing in college, and he's really kind of revamped our hitting the last couple seasons. We set a ton of records this year, and is really trying to challenge guys with hitting doubles and really driving baseballs and their approach at the plate. He's done a great job with that. We've had several great pitching coaches along the way, but Craig Halls has been our pitching coach now the last 2 seasons, and he's kind of picked up where the other guys have left off and has done a great job of developing arms and adding velocity. It's kind of the big thing right now is guys throwing hard. So he's done awesome with that. And then we've added Chris Abear, who's an infield guy, and has worked really hard with our infielders and just devotes a ton of time to our program. He's actually a volunteer, but you wouldn't know it by the number of hours he puts in. And then Coach Poisel joins us on the varsity staff, but he's also our head JV coach, so he's not around as much during the year, but again, kind of does the little things behind the scenes for us. And just all of them together, we're super close. We're in a group chat. We're talking all the time. Our wives sometimes get frustrated with us because we're always communicating, but you know, it's just a family. It's fun to be around them. There's times where I forget that, you know, it's my job because I'm hanging out with my best friends, and they do a ton for me, and all the awards that we get, that I get, they deserve their names on those plaques too.
But that's a very positive thing when you're sitting there and not thinking of it as a job. There aren't many people who can do something like you do, regardless of what the profession is, and not think of it as a job. One of the things I'm curious about is, you know, in the community, we have a very strong rec league program. How do you interface with that?
I've been very fortunate that the youth board has welcomed me in, has asked for advice, and has allowed me to share my input and my suggestions. So been very fortunate with that, the buy-in from the community. And we've tried some things that have been great. We've tried some things that haven't worked out. We've had to make some adjustments in terms of some of the developmental phases of the youth system. But overall, you know, it's one of the biggest youth systems in the country, and they do a great job of developing our players and getting them ready to play at the high school level. And I'm very appreciative of them allowing me to share some of my influence in that level.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the previous seasons leading up to you know, last year, going into the sectional, this year going to the state championship. When did you have a feeling as a coach that I think we're just about there, I think we're ready to go on to greatness?
Honestly, you know, our first winning season in 2011, we made it to the sectional championship. We won 20 games, or 19 games, I guess, that year. And that group had a complete buy-in, guys like Kobe Orris and Ant Roach. And then kind of from there, we had 6 of the last 8 seasons have been winning seasons. And so it's kind of just built along the way, several 21 seasons along the way. But last year's group, the seniors in 2017, had been together a long time. They played in the travel system within our youth board. They were Tigers starting in like 7th grade, and so kind of that development, and then the groups behind them, and they kind of paved the way for this season. Obviously breaking through and winning the conference in 2017 in the sectional, and then the guys this year kind of had a bad taste in their mouth after losing in the regional to Zionsville, and worked their tails off this off season and didn't want that to happen again, and kind of built upon the previous years and the foundation that we had, and added to it and left their own legacy. The camaraderie of the groups the last 3, 4, 5 years have been incredible, and they've just keep gotten better. They kept getting better every year. And this year's group, no one really cared who got the credit as long as they were winning. It was a pretty neat group. They just wanted to win, and even in the dugout, sometimes you get the kids that get out and they're frustrated. We didn't really have that this year. If we did, it was quickly turned around because they wanted their teammate to succeed, and they were back encouraging them. So it's a pretty special group.
Let's talk about this past season, the 2018 season. Starting out in April, you guys hit the road down south, and it just seems like from day one, things took off. A 29-7 record overall. I believe it was 15-3 in the conference, and you ended the season. We'll talk specifically about the tournament on an 11-game winning streak. But starting right at the beginning of the season, how did things go from your perspective?
Great. We started our Tennessee trip, I think in 2011, 2012, and we make that trip every year, and it's a great team building time, camaraderie time. The guys are away together for 48 straight hours, staying in the hotel, and it's a great trip for us as a staff and as a team, just kind of building that camaraderie. But we actually came back 3-2 from that trip. We lost on a walk-off home run to a team that ended up in the Tennessee State. They have 8 teams in their state tournament, state championship time, and so we lost on a walk-off home run. So we came back kind of a little frustrated, being at 3-2 and giving up that game at the end of our trip. But then obviously jumping into the HCC and the competitiveness of Noblesville, and then with Southeastern right after that. And so we started off a little bit slower, but we were able to get things going there as conference started, and obviously winning big games in our conference is huge because it's a very difficult conference. It's one of the best in the state. It is the best in the state, and so coming out of the first 2 weekends being 5-1 kind of gave us a little spark into the middle of the season, and allowed us to kind of move through the season.
As the season went on, you did have a couple losses in there. You ended up in second place, and we come to the end of the season with a 3-game set with Zionsville. You guys are, I believe, 1 game behind them, starting that, and I think conventional wisdom probably was, if you guys could win 2 or 3 from Zionsville, that would be good. 3 or 3 would be excellent in that. But I was just really impressed with that 3-game set that you guys did against Zionsville right there at the end of the season.
Yeah, we were impressed too as a staff. Again, the guys had lost in the regional final last year to Zionsville and ended that run, and we thought we had a team that could win it all in 2017. And so going into that 3-game series, there's a little extra motivation. Zionsville's a great program, great team this year. They've been involved in the top of the conference for several years now, and so our guys kind of went into that series with a little extra hunger and a little extra, chance to revenge some things from the previous year. And but man, beating them 3 times was incredible, and it's a testament to our guys and their commitment to each other. I've shared this a lot. They love each other. They wanted to compete with each other, for each other, and they wanted to win that conference, and they laid it all on the line those last 3 games.
Of course, there toward the end of the season, Grant Richardson had an illness, and that obviously hurt and left maybe a question mark or some concern too, right?
Yeah, Grant had mono, kind of right in the middle of the year. Missed, I think, like 8 games, missed 2.5 weeks with mono, and we have great players around him too, but just kind of the void of him in our lineup, and one less guy that the other team had to pitch to, and then the void in our pitching staff. Some guys had to fill in, and they did a great job. I think we went 5-1 in conference play during that time, but we had a sophomore fill in for him on the mound, and they did a great job. But just getting him back in the lineup, kind of putting things back in the order that we thought they'd be, and putting guys back in their spots in the lineup. We had to move around the lineup a little bit, getting them back to where they were more comfortable and kind of the flow of our lineup, and then obviously having Grant on the mound for a 3rd game in the conference series definitely helped. I think we only lost 1 game after he came back from his illness, so just kind of putting all the pieces back together definitely helped.
Well, you were talking earlier about the strength of the Hoosier Crossroad in the years that the Hoosier Crossroad's been established. You look at the number of teams in there that have gone on to state championship games. I'm not sure if Harrison was in the HCC at the time that they were winning the championships, but they were part of the HCC. McCutcheon went down there, Brownsburg there, Noblesville, Westfield. I mean, a lot of good baseball in this conference. And what that also leads to is something that's a credit to you guys, is you've taken a lot of your players and sent them off to some great baseball schools.
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough with some talent and some guys developing and have a chance to go play college ball, and but just seeing the competition in our conference, it is the best. talking with some of the coaches, and I believe everyone, almost all of the teams in the conference have been in the Final Four in the last 12 years. And several of them, I think all but a couple, have been in the state championship game at some point or have the history of it, even going back to Harrison and McCutcheon and Lafayette Jeff. And so yeah, it's definitely, it's an awesome conference, and that helped us as a coaching staff because we saw you know, the talented programs in our conference and wanted to be like them and wanted to beat them and wanted to play them, and just that competition every night for several years was allowed us to learn and grow and kind of see what we needed to become and who we needed to be to reach that ultimate goal.
Let's talk about the tournament. I saw you a couple days after the draw, and you had this big grin on your face, and I said, Coach Jerry, what are you so happy about? He says, I got a bye. I mean, I don't honestly think it would have affected the outcome of it, but it helps.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that bye, it's only good if you win. That's kind of what I've told people. But we've had it the last 2 years, and we won the sectional, and it definitely helps playing that one less game. And you know, in the blind draw, the single elimination, you need a lot of breaks, and we got a lot of breaks this year in our 6 games and in the state tournament. But one of them definitely was playing the bye game.
Let's talk about the regional. Just a couple weeks before the regional, you beat Zionsville 3 out of 3. You swept the series from them, and then all of a sudden you're back up against the Eagles again. How did you guys approach that game? Because you know, I've heard the old adage, you know, I've already beat them 2 or 3 times. To beat them a 3rd or 4th time, it's a lot rougher.
Yeah, to beat a team 4 times is extremely difficult, especially Zionsville. Again, like I mentioned earlier, they're a great team, one of the best hitting teams we've seen in the state this year. They were tough, top to bottom. Again, going back to the conference series, guys had some revenge in their mind. They wanted to get back after losing in 2017 to them. We won the series in 2017 and then lost in the regional, and so we talked a lot about that in the week going into it. You know, we had swept them. We were very fortunate to do that and win conference. But we talked a lot about how it was important, you know, this next game, if they win, then what does that sweep do during the season? And the guys, again, rose up. They wanted that game really badly. It was a competitive game, just a one-run game there. We had a couple breaks go our way, which is how you advance in the state tournament.
On to Plymouth for the semi-state. I don't know what else I can say about Plymouth.
Yeah, that was a tough game. Chesterton was a great match for us. Again, we had a couple breaks go our way, but our guys took advantage of them and were able to seal the deal there. It seemed like every game in the state tournament we had runners on late and had to get out of jams, and we were able to do that defensively and on the mound get some strikeouts. And but to win that and advance to the state was an awesome experience for our guys.
Then the Friday night of the championship game, I kept, because of job responsibilities, I could not be at that game Friday, and I was hoping it would be played on Saturday so I could be there because I wanted to see it in person, but fortunately I got to see it on TV. But Cathedral, that had to be a tough team to try to figure out how to beat them. Oh,
absolutely. We actually wanted the Friday night game. We thought it would draw a better crowd and to get the game kind of out of the way and not have to wait all day on Saturday. But you know, Cathedral is a great team, great program. Have one of the best players in the state, one of the best arms in the state. So yeah, definitely a challenge going in. Our guys were excited to be there. They were excited to play. We had a little nervousness there in the first few innings, made a couple errors and gave them a run. But the guys settled in just like they've done all year. They competed. They really don't know how to lose, and so they fought to the very end, and we were able to get away with a victory.
Grant Richardson coming in relief of Luke Albright. I've seen Grant pitch probably 4 or 5 times this season, and he seems to have this habit of getting in a little trouble, but he seems to be able to get out of it.
Yeah, we kind of joked with him about maybe doing having ghosty runners on base to get him into the jams a little bit quicker to get some outs. But no, he definitely is a competitor on the mound and works out of jams. One of the best I've seen. You know, he did it pretty much all through the whole tournament. In sectional and even in the regional, and again worked out of the jam in the semi-state. So yeah, he did it every stop along the way. But you know, it's a combination of him executing pitches and being the right matchup for certain guys that we faced in those situations. And Just guys playing good defense behind him to help get out of jams.
He had, I believe he pitched 2 innings, if I'm correct.
Yeah, inning
And,
2/3.
Yeah, and ended up with bases loaded in both of those. Did you guys say anything to him between the innings, give him a little advice, or did you just kind of let him sit in the corner and do his own thing?
No, a lot of our guys, we kind of let do their own thing. They're loose and laid back already. We don't need to add any more pressure. They knew what the moment was. So we kind of let them do our own thing, do their own thing. But again, he just does a great job of battling. We were able to get some calls go our way, and he was able to throw the basketball by a couple guys.
I've been watching high school baseball here in Indiana for over 30 years now, and I can say this in all honesty without any reservations, not because I've known you for a number of years, Coach, but I think the team that you had this year is one of the best, if not the best, I have ever seen in high school baseball, top to bottom. And I know this would be a dream, but I would have loved to have seen a matchup between the Lance Lynn, Drew Storen, Brownsburg team and this team, because I think that would have been a whale of a game.
It's a huge compliment. I don't know about that. Those guys are very talented playing pro ball. I do think our guys, the camaraderie of our group is unmatched. We actually talked about it a lot in the off season. We were very talented. We were extremely talented, but the most talented teams don't always win, and it's the team that loves each other, buys in, wants to win it for the next guy. Competes. The team with the best camaraderie seems to be the teams that win. We talked a little bit about the New England Patriots. I know that's a bad word around these parts, but they don't always have the best talent, but they find a way to win, and they kind of gel together. And so that was kind of our approach to the season, was just can we love each other? Can we compete for each other? Can we not worry about who gets the credit? And the guys bought in, and they did it really well.
Well, the one thing I noticed during the season, in the half a dozen or so games of years that I got to see this year, is top to bottom, from the top of the lineup to the bottom of the lineup, it didn't make any difference where you guys were at. Everybody contributed, and everybody was able to produce.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't really matter whether you hit the top, middle, or bottom. The guys were contributing. Ben Burton's a perfect example of that. Got the huge hit in the sectional championship in the 7th, and again in the state championship in the 2nd inning to spark us and rally us back after giving up the run in the 1st. And it didn't matter. The guys all the way through the lineup. Alex Jamison, our 6-hole, led our team in home runs and RBIs, and we had 3 guys, Kyle Brincheski and Matthew Wolf and Alex Jamison, who all broke the single-season RBI record. Had more RBIs than the previous 11 years. So it was a special group. We actually talked one day at practice, walking out the state final, preparing for the state finals, and we went through our entire roster, and someone had done something within the entire season. Everybody had done at least something within the entire season to help us win, and even some guys that only had a couple of bats, would get a big hit against Carmel or filled in and played second after an injury. It was just a special group because they bought in, they served their role. They did their job when they were called upon, and then they went back to their role on the bench, and it was just a very special group.
Well, over 4,000 people saw that game in person at Victory Field. The only game I saw this year that had anything close to that was the sectional game at Noblesville, when they honored the Noblesville West family out there after the tragedy at Noblesville West. But it's a credit to you, to your team, to to Fishers High School and the community of Fishers, just what you guys have been able to accomplish this year. And we're very proud to be associated with you and know you and call you friend. That's Coach Matthew Cherry, head coach of the Fishers Tigers. This has been a special edition of the Hamilton County Sports Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners and Noblesville Trophies. On behalf of Coach Cherry, I'm Brad Silbert. Good day.